Bees Nation, what is good? It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. We got the pettiest man alive in the building, Mr. P Kid, of course.
Yeah.
Mr. Media himself, Jordan JC, joining us as always. A lot to get into on today's episode. Heard a very interesting topic from Rich Eisen today and figured why not discuss it on the pod, because realistically, this season has become all about developing Caleb Williams, finding some things that he does well, finding what we can continue to see him do well. And so the question on the table today, of the quarterbacks that the Chicago Bears could have taken, and realistically, I'm talking about top two, right? You're going Caleb Williams, you're going Jayden Daniels, and last year's Bryce Young and/or CJ Stroud. Who, although I guess CJ Stroud went a little bit later, but Anthony Richardson is garbage. So we'll say CJ Stroud, who is playing the best at this moment. And can you make a case that Caleb Williams is outplaying the pack right now versus the toughest competition? We'll talk about all that and more on today's episode of the I almost said Chicago Bears podcast, Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Also got to preview this Bears Lions game, boys. It's gonna get ugly. There's some.
I have faith.
Oh, look at Dub in the building. Look
man,
where are you at? Are you on the other side of Kid's basement? That's what
you does look like ready to spit a hot 16.
Hey, at least it did look
like
muted. The boys making some changes in the basement.
Unmute the mic. There you go.
There you go. We back.
Yeah, you come
sounding
sultry sounds of C-Dub in the building. Hey, man, we'll talk about all that and more, like I said, on today's episode, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. What's going on, boys? How y'all feeling, man?
Feeling good, man.
Feeling good.
By the way, CJ went second overall, so.
Did he? I thought Anthony Richardson went before him. I couldn't remember if
Anthony Richardson went third. He went third.
He still sucks. The point stands, but at least CJ also second in there as well. Let's start it off here, boys. If you had to rank these four right now, what order would you put these in? And I'm not talking about body of work, I guess, per se. I'm talking about how you saw these four players play recently, because you'd have to take Bryce out if you're talking about full body of work. But if you watch Bryce the last couple of games,
thoughts,
dare I say, this young man may be able to play some football.
Yeah, he's a little competent now.
The kid can sling it. The kid can sling it.
A little confident. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, he's still Mighty Mouse here because it's the smallest QB I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
top 9.
He's
a water boy playing QB.
60 freaking pounds,
bro. He is a small quarterback, bro. It is concerning.
He got hit by two people and he disappeared in a pile.
that'll happen.
Disappeared. Yeah, I was like, where'd he go?
Like the wildest thing is still that man was like, no, don't adjust the mic, bro. They're gonna think I'm short. Like, we can see you, dog. You know we can see you. But what are your thoughts? How would you rank these four right now on how you've seen them play over the last few weeks?
Honestly, if I'm just jumping in there, I'm always going to hold CJ Stroud in high regard because, I mean, he's just been that guy. I'm going to give the nod to Jayden as 2 right now. I know that the last 2 weeks say a lot, but, I mean, let's be for real. Jayden's been cooking all season, and, you know, even with some adversity, he still put together a good body of work. He himself had some late game heroics for them against the Cowboys that, you know, they lost, but still, like that kid has it. And so, but a lot of that is the situation he's in, but he's playing good ball. So I don't think he's head and shoulders better than Caleb. I don't think he's better than Caleb at all, but I would put Caleb as 3 because he hasn't had as many struggles. I know it's a lot of context that go into that. And then if we're including Bryce is always going to be last because Bryce shouldn't be playing quarterback. I'm just being honest with you. Bryce is a small guy. I fear for his life every single game. That's not even a joke. Like him and Tua, I worry about the most. I'm like, something disastrous is going to happen to these guys. They're just way too small. But that's just how my lineup would go. I would have Caleb as 3 if we include CJ in that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of almost in line with Kid. I mean, CJ Stroud's already proven himself last year, and then you got this year where, I mean, the last 4 games it's been atrocious for him, honestly, as far as his QB rating and completion percentage it's been really bad. But overall, he's been more consistent. Caleb has had his ups and downs this season. He's had some really high ups and he has some lows. And then Jayden just kind of been consistent throughout the season. So I'm gonna just put Jayden at 1, honestly, for right now. And 2, I'm gonna put CJ, and then obviously Caleb. And we all know Bryce is the worst of the pack. But I say all that to say, though, that I do think that Caleb is on the ascend, and I think he's going to surpass it. So obviously, right now, we're talking right now. This is where we're at. Eventually, Caleb will be the best quarterback out of the bunch.
All right, so I don't know if you guys are actually looking at the numbers, but Caleb Williams is clearly number 1. Because the last 4 weeks, if we're just talking about currently and not just overall body of work, clearly CJ Stroud would be that dude because he killed his rookie year and Jayden killed in the beginning of the season. But just comparing all 4 of these quarterbacks for the last month, CJ Stroud has more interceptions than touchdowns in the last 4 games. He's got 5 to 3 touchdowns. Jayden Daniels has 3 interceptions to 3 touchdowns. Well, I'm sorry. Let me correct that. 5 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Bryce Young has 1 interception to 3 touchdowns. And then, of course, Caleb Williams hasn't thrown any picks, but he just had 2 touchdowns. But overall, his ratings are better than most quarterbacks on this list. His yardage, he has 340 yards. No other quarterback on this list has thrown for over 300 yards in the last month. So if we're just talking about currently as constructed, yes, obviously I would put Caleb number 1. I would put Jayden Daniels number 2. CJ Stroud has thrown a lot of picks, but I would still put. Well, actually, no. Bryce Young is better as far as rating. Ironically, he be going number 3, and then CJ Stroud is last.
Wait,
sounds crazy, but if you look at the numbers.
Hey, what ratings are you going off of? Because
look at
the last month of game stats.
Look at the last month of Daniels has better stats.
I mean, because here's the thing, you can't take total body of work in. CJ or Bryce missed a good chunk of this season. I mean, even if we just go off of this season, Bryce is 4th right now. I would say Bryce is playing probably the second best out of any of these quarterbacks. It sounds crazy to say. I'm not gonna lie to you, but Bryce is balling over the last 3-4 weeks, dog.
Yeah, you look at the numbers. We're talking about currently.
You're talking about the ratings. Jayden has better ratings in the last month than Caleb.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
Bryce Young is 92.9 last game against the Chiefs, by the way. 86.4 against the Giants, 77.6 against the Saints, 76.9 against the Broncos. Jayden's highest rating was the Giants in that 4th game. That was the last game, 128.8. That was amazing. But then after that, 68.5, 81.6, 82.7. So overall, I think Bryce is kind of right there.
Then go to Caleb, who was 68.9, 63.2, 95.0, and then 103. You average it out. Jayden has better stats from a ratings perspective.
I wouldn't say Jayden has better stats because he's throwing more picks. To me, I think that matters.
The rating is the rating, though.
I think that matters. I guess you can kind of.
Here's what's funny. I think here's what's funny and why I wanted to have this conversation, because there's a couple directions that you can go. But even now, looking at the season, this is the one thing that I do want to listen. At the end of the day, Bryce is last.
I was wondering where we was going with this.
No, because JC is doing the conversation how Rich Eisen did the conversation. He was talking about, we talking about how are these quarterbacks playing right now? Who's playing the best? So he's not wrong in that aspect of it. But realistically speaking, none of us are taking Bryce over any of the other 3 quarterbacks.
No.
Right. You know what I mean? So I think you can have that conversation as well. But I think this is what's interesting. And this is why wins and losses mean a ton. This is why when you have the team that is constructed and goes out there and actually puts together wins, you have a better conversation around the quarterback no matter what. But when you look at Jayden Daniels' numbers, when you look at CJ Stroud's numbers, when you look at Caleb Williams' numbers, dare I say Caleb Williams has done more. Now, Jayden is 1. That means more. It does. But Caleb Williams has more 300-yard passing games. He's only one touchdown behind Jayden Daniels right now. He's got 11-5. Jayden Daniels sitting at 12-5. Jayden, of course, throwing a couple interceptions more. And I think here's the interesting part of the conversation we don't have around Jayden is some of these losses that have come. Of course, the Dallas loss is an atrocious loss, but Caleb has got some bad losses this season. Maybe whether we say it's because of the coaches or not, right? But Jayden has not performed well against good teams. Against good defenses, Jayden has not played his best football. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jayden was bad. Against the Philadelphia Eagles, Jayden was bad. Now, that is a rookie going up against top defenses. But we just saw that with Caleb Williams. And if your numbers are comparable, if we can sit here and point to the fact that Caleb Williams is on his second offensive coordinator in his rookie year, and your numbers are comparable, he's 300 yards passing behind Jayden Daniels, and we know the reason being Luke Getsy and some of the things that he was calling, how he was calling the offense. Like, I can say that Caleb is leading the pack because Caleb has led 4 game-winning drives this season, and they've been taken out of his hands. Like that isn't happening for Jayden Daniels. Jayden is getting the win because he's got the coaching staff that has a little bit more confidence. Jayden Daniels has the offensive line. I think the same thing about CJ Stroud this season. CJ Stroud, 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, boys. That's not good. He's not protected anymore. Over the last month of football, he's got 15 sacks. Like, those are things to me that you have to take a look at and say, yeah, this guy right now where Caleb Williams is at in his rookie season, what we're seeing him do, I do have Caleb number 1. I've got Jayden number 2. Off GP, I'm going to put CJ number 3, but realistically speaking, Bryce Young is playing better football than CJ Stroud right now.
Ooh,
are there reasons why CJ is struggling? Of course there are. There's reasons why Caleb is struggling. There are reasons why Jayden is struggling. There are reasons why Bryce is just, he might not be able to.
Bryce is just struggling.
Hey, listen, I'm trying to figure out. Trying to figure this out, baby. Hold on, where we going with Bryce?
Well, it's just the last month. You know, Bryce wasn't going to get an opportunity. The opportunity was taken away from him all until Andy Dalton ends up getting in that car accident, right? He gets his opportunity back and he's made the most of it. So it's more so giving him the credit for like coming back and playing well. He's playing well right now. He's playing better right now, but over the long run, none of us are, right? Like, listen, nobody's confused that you made the right decision. And I think that's really why I wanted to have this conversation. As it sits right now, do you feel like of the top 2 for the last 2 years, you had an opportunity to take both these guys, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams. Do you feel like the Bears made the right call taking Caleb Williams instead of going with a CJ Stroud or a Jayden Daniels? Again, nobody feels that way about Bryce. We just don't.
Well, absolutely. And you got to think about last year. I think most people had Bryce Young number 1. So if the Bears even took that number 1 pick, I doubt that they would have even went for CJ Stroud, to be honest with you, because everybody was talking about Bryce Young. It was more of a toss-up, but Bryce Young was kind of leading most of people's mindsets as far as who's number 1. And then you just look at just the overall body of work and the projection. You always look at the projection of what the talent can be. What is their ceiling? And I just feel like Caleb's ceiling is much higher than the rest of the quarterbacks that we're mentioning. Yeah, I mean, we can go over semantics over who's better right now. That's irrelevant in the grand scheme of who's eventually going to be one of the quarterbacks mentioned amongst the greats in 10 years from now. And I see Caleb Williams. I'm not being biased because I'm a Bears fan. I see Caleb. That's an ounce. But I see what I see. And there's things that Caleb does that the other quarterbacks just don't do. And this is where you get the Mahomes-y comparison. You get the Aaron Rodgers comparison. And there's not another quarterback this young that's doing that.
Yeah, it's I think it's funny because like we sit here and we go through the ebbs and flows of the full season, right? And you start the season off and you're like, CJ Stroud's amazing. Some injuries take place. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, this guy can't just overcome anything that's thrown at him. And it's not to say that I don't think he's still a good player. I do. I think that even in that last game, the game versus Tennessee, they come out on the winning end of that and they dominate. He throws 2 picks in that game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's the ebbs and flows that you have going through the season. And everyone was so quick to judge Caleb on some of the losses that he had that they didn't take anything else into account because they were like, well, you told me this guy was generational. And I think that what I say, that's not a stigma you want to have placed on your quarterback. Nobody called Jayden Daniels generational. And so nobody looks at the fact that he loses to some subpar teams and that's not an issue, or that he has help from his offensive coordinator, or that he has these situations that because you didn't have these ceiling through the roof expectations on Jayden Daniels. Most people were like, I think you made a mistake taking Jayden Daniels. But Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams aren't all that dissimilar.
I'll be honest with you. I don't look at this as a situation where, just as my personal view, I know just to stay in line with the topic, like we could have picked any of these QBs, and if we did the right things, we'd been a successful organization. The problem is we didn't do the right thing by Caleb, and he's still shining through that. I don't think Jayden would have been better, but I think he would have been able to have those plays. I mean, there's a lot of plays that Caleb missed this season that we were like, why didn't he use his legs more? Well, if you look at how Jayden plays, Jayden would have made those plays, right? And so I don't look at it as a situation where one is better. I just think of it as, hey, if you look at the next era of QB, the league is in really, really good hands, and we have a nice, like this draft is crazy. I mean, even I see Bo Nix being there in this being mentioned several times in the chat. Bo Nix is balling, right? But Bo Nix also has the right setup, right coach and stuff like that.
Bo Nix got the right coach.
We're in a situation where all of these kids are talented. They all have their unique thing that they bring to the table. We haven't even seen JJ McCarthy, who I think only lost 1 game in his entire collegiate and high school career, if I'm mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Something crazy like that. Like, all in all, we're in a great era of QB, and I think we just need to, like the Bears organization, buckle down and build around what you have now. Like, you have the opportunity to now, like, really build around a kid who is a phenomenal talent. I still use the word generational because that throw he made on the run to Swift, that's an elite throw. That's a special throw. That's a special throw. To have the power to do that, the touch, that's a special throw. Like, that's
the throw that he made to Keenan Allen that they called back because the foot is just out of bounds.
Those are special plays.
Great ball plays. Yeah.
Generational talents make
that
those
window he threw it in when it wasn't even it shouldn't even have been a window there.
It was crazy. So I think people get up in arms about that. Like, you can't say generational. Like, there are generational talents across the league. Maybe they don't all live up to it, but like, these are really talented players all across the board, and we just have to get the right support for Caleb. So, like, I don't think we would have went wrong either way. I think everyone would.
I don't agree with that,
right? But I like what Caleb has done and how he's fought through adversity.
Here's the thing. I don't agree with that because we've seen how that goes wrong with other quarterbacks. Jayden Daniels is a very similar quarterback to what Justin Fields came in as.
I don't think Jayden Daniels. I think Jayden Daniels plays the defense and plays the game a little differently. I just never believed in Justin Fields' ability to read the field.
He's a one-read quarterback.
And that's just it's not hate. That's something you develop and you coach out of. We weren't the organization to coach out of it.
But this is the thing, right? You see the differences when you watch Commanders games than when you watch Bears games. You see Caleb Williams calling the checks, running the offense, changing it, flipping the play, doing all these things. You don't see Jayden Daniels doing that, which means you have to simplify the things for Jayden Daniels. If you put Jayden Daniels with Shane Waldron, it may destroy him his rookie year. It may waste his rookie year. Right? You know what I mean? If you take Luke Getsy and put him with CJ Stroud, it may destroy CJ Stroud's rookie year. You may be talking about that differently. And you're getting to see right now what CJ Stroud would look like behind an offensive line similar to what Caleb is behind and similar to what Justin Fields was behind, right? Like, I think that to say that it wouldn't be a fan, Bryce Young, it is what it is. To say that anybody could have stepped into this situation and you still would have been in the same spot, I don't agree with that because I've seen anybody step into this situation and not go out there and be able to overcome it. Caleb is bouncing back in a way versus literally two of the best defenses in the NFL, and he is putting up the best numbers versus those defenses. He posted the third highest quarterback rating versus the Vikings this season.
Yes, he did.
Only behind, I believe it's Pat Mahomes and Matthew Stafford. Like, those are the things to me where it's like, maybe Caleb is a generational talent. But in my mind, if he is, it's because he's still playing really good football after everything he's been through this season. He's going through a season where you've got a generational loser as your head coach. You had an offensive coordinator who literally couldn't seem to figure out, hey, maybe we should move this kid around so he doesn't get his head taken off. Or maybe that was all of a sudden Caleb's holding the football too long and Getsy's not helping him. He's not getting the play in quick enough. You make one tweak, now all of a sudden the kid can play football again. You know what I mean? Like it's all of these things, second offensive coordinator, all these things that no other quarterback has to go through, that no other quarterback has had to go through. I can't say Jayden survives that, because what I see with Jayden is Cliff Kingsbury's offense, just like with everything else, coming back to earth. Not to say he's not going to be able to play or he's not going to be able to go out there and produce, but coming back to earth when defenses realize, you know, he's just really throwing the football a lot to Terry McLaurin. Maybe we should just double cover Terry McLaurin all day.
Right side of the field all the time. Here's where I wanted to go with this conversation real quick, because we're talking about four quarterbacks in four different situations, some better than others. If all things were equal, let's ask this question. If all these quarterbacks had a chance to play for the Bears currently constructed with their roster, elite playmakers all over the place, but a horrible offensive line. We've seen how Caleb has evolved and kind of adapted to that. Would there be any other quarterback out of those three that you think would have done a better job or would do a better job at this point?
I can't use the word better. I just think that it would. On
par. On par.
I don't even know if I can say even.
I think Jayden would have managed. I think it just happens in reverse. I think it just happens where Caleb does it more with his arm. I think Jayden would have did it more with his legs. But like, I mean, I'm being very consistent, because even while we still had Fields, I said, hey, I don't know about Caleb. I like Caleb, but I was a Jayden fan. It was Jayden Penix and Caleb for me. And
I remember that you were high on Penix.
So, and I still am. I still think he's going to have a phenomenal career. He's
when he's 32 and get out there, man, he really going to show something.
Hey, listen, he's going to be well mature. He's going to know himself. He gonna have a whole family and everything, dog. I mean, if he haven't already,
he already do. What you mean? I got two kids, a dog, and a 401k.
Yeah, but I still think like Jayden would have been a slightly better Fields in the sense of how he processes the game. I still see him process. He has better touch on the deep ball. I still believe that, and he also
processes better than Caleb.
I don't know if he processes better than Caleb, but Caleb also has had those moments where he refused to run. It's like, dog, you got all this green field out of you. So like that, being able to make those explosive plays, the defense plays you differently.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, I don't know what he would have been able to do or not, because we're talking about a hypothetical situation. But I do know that based off how he's currently playing, and when the defense does give him that, he takes it, and that puts them on their heels so much that the game is wide open for him. And I can't take that away from him. I just, even if the play calling is more simplified and stuff like that, I can't take away the fear that he strikes in the defense from his ability to not only throw the ball, but also run well as well. So I can't say that. I just think it would have been even.
But I think the thing is, right, if you're having a conversation just Caleb and Jayden, right, you've seen the flip side of the coin. When Jayden played against defenses that could get after him more, he hasn't played as well. He's turned into Justin Fields of last year at times, where, yeah, you're getting touchdowns, but also you're throwing picks that are killing us. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, and it's not to say he's not going to overcome that. I just think that it's, you know, you're seeing that tough competition. Hey, he threw 2 picks against Dallas. I didn't know Dallas could intercept the football still.
Like, but up to that point, he had only thrown 3 picks. That's still good. Like, we're talking 11 weeks, 3 picks, rookie quarterback
for the season.
Yeah, to that point, he threw 2 picks versus Dallas. He had only thrown 3 picks this season. Up until the Dallas game.
Okay.
Jayden has been cooking from that perspective. Again, I'm with you. Where the heck did Dallas come up with that? Right?
Yeah,
Where did that
but
come from?
I think it's also listen, and he still played well, right? Throws the big touchdown into the game to Terry McLaurin. We're sitting here losing our minds because we're watching over here at the Bears, and then we look down. I'm like, oh God, we got Terry McLaurin to the highlight. We got 2 game-winning situations for both young quarterbacks. I'm not saying Jayden can't make the plays. I'm not saying that Jayden can't play football. I think that Jayden is kind of going to have to deal with learning Cliff Kingsbury's offenses usually gets figured out around this time. And guess
let's
what?
also keep this in mind, Pat. Like, we're talking about playing against good defenses. They played us, and we have a good defense. And while he didn't have, he didn't blow us away with a bunch of touchdowns.
Jayden really,
he didn't do anything.
That wasn't the sentiment watching the game. The sentiment watching the game was he getting that ball down the field. No, they didn't score,
but he never scored.
He was getting the ball
never
down
scored.
He never scored. The one touchdown he had that day is the Hail Mary. Like I didn't leave that game going, oh, Jayden Daniels destroyed us. I think that he put his team in position for field goals, but I left that day going, yeah, versus a good defense, he can't get into the end zone. Now, I don't know what happened to that defense. I'd like to get that defense back.
What happened to that defense, dog?
It's gotten worse.
But versus a good defense, I went, okay, you can't get into the end zone. You throw a Hail Mary that wins the game. Sucks, right? But like, that's a 60-yard Hail Mary. So he had 260 yards at that point. No touchdowns.
Hey, you know what's crazy? Is Stevenson just was on the side, just still taunting people? He may not.
He probably win that game. No, for sure.
No, honestly.
Absolutely.
You probably win that game.
Over there
we already know that was his assignment. Noah Brown was wide open.
But it is funny. I thought it was funny, right? When I'm looking at it, because I'm sitting here preparing for the topic and I'm breaking things down. I'm like, Caleb has done more. He's thrown more 300-yard games. He's tied a record for 300-yard games thrown by a rookie. I think only him, Andrew Luck, and CJ Stroud have, what's Caleb at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 300-yard games passing in their rookie season.
2 more for the record. 3 more for the record.
You said what?
I think he needs 2 or 3 more for the record, though, right?
No, he's tied.
No,
he's tied with them for the most, I think.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where, right, like you look at this kid and you look at him versus some of those struggle games, Washington, Arizona, New England, and you're like, well, what the heck happened? You move him out of there, right? And I think that all of a sudden you get Thomas Brown in there. Now you're having a different conversation on the quarterback. Now you're having a conversation about a young man who is able to process the field, who is able to read the defense, who is able to take the quick passes, take the check down, who is getting an offense that's called for him. You know what I thought was a key stat today? Courtney Cronin talked about this with me on the Chicago Bears podcast today. With the amount of air yards and how much they've gone down for Caleb over the last couple of games.
Yep.
And where they were when he played against Jacksonville, where they were when he played against Carolina, where they were when he played against the Rams. Those are his 3 better games right before we went through that 3-game skid. It's like a 10-yard difference. And the reason is because you don't have the offensive line to go out there and say, hey, let's wait for this play to develop downfield. You don't have the offensive line to say, hey, I got 15 yards. Let me get this down to you. You have the offensive line to say, set hut. All right, let's get rid of this thing. Bow. I brought it up, right? At this point, I think Caleb Williams is up to 68 unblocked pressures. 68 unblocked pressures.
Not bad.
Or I'm sorry, not unblocked pressures, quick pressures. So basically pressures of 2 seconds or less.
Is that stat, and this I'm just asking for, my education. Does that stat even include when they go screens? Because when you throw a screen, you typically have an unblocked person rushing.
I would assume that probably includes that, but I mean, like and
we throw a lot of screens.
We do throw a lot of screens, but I think that it's also the fact that there's no way you get up to 68.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean? Like it's the offensive line, like it looks better all of a sudden, and now all people are like, oh, it's serviceable. I'm like, no, the ball's getting out in under 2 seconds. Like, you shouldn't have to stand back there and only have 2 seconds to have an opportunity to put the football in the air. Now, I want him to get the football out in 2 seconds, but that should be a choice, not a requirement. And I think, that's the difference. Jayden Daniels, I think that he's going to be a good football player. I don't want this to come off as Jayden slander. I think that Jayden's going to be able to play the game well. I think CJ is going to be a fine football player. But you see the difference in what Jayden Daniels has gone through with his offensive line. They've made investments in that line. It's been definitely much better than any of the other 3 quarterbacks that we brought up here today.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Caleb Williams is the one that we talk about having 4 game-winning drives. Caleb Williams is the one that we talk about putting his team in a position to win. Caleb Williams is the one that we talk about remaining calm under the biggest pressures and going out there and making the biggest plays. Now, Jayden's gotten on the board with a game-winning drive that ends up in a missed field goal, which I ain't gonna lie, as a Bears fan, I took a little
victory lap on that.
Little victory lap on that. I was like, that's what y'all get. That's what the F y'all get. He went all the way down, did everything you needed him to do. That's went left. Get out.
That's how it feels. Now you know.
How does that feel?
But you know what? With this conversation, that's why, again, going back to like just the rookie season for all these guys, and then even CJ Stroud's last year, like that's why it's important to preach patience, because at the beginning of the season, everybody was trashing Caleb, saying this dude was a bust. He didn't get the game. He wasn't efficient. He wasn't accurate. He didn't give us 300+ yard games. What is he doing out there? He's not the number 1 pick. You should have went with Jayden. And now it seems like the story is kind of flipping just a little bit. And again, for all you Commanders fans, you Jayden Daniels fans, even in the chat, I see you. I'm not trashing Jayden Daniels, but that's just what the ebbs and flows of a rookie season is. There's times where one person is going to look good at the start because of their situation being better line, as you mentioned. Then injuries may happen. Okay, well, now a person takes a step back. Doesn't mean they're going to suck, but now you have Caleb Williams who's starting to understand the game more. Despite his situation, he's evolving into a quarterback that's winning, or not winning, I should say, but improving in spite of not having good protection because they're getting the ball out quicker. He's getting back to feeding his playmakers. They're calling different play calling. Like the offense is humming now. And so you see a better version of a quarterback that everybody wanted to trash 5 games into his career. And so that's why, again, preaching patience, because all of these guys are talented. Yeah, maybe not Bryce Young, but that's just my opinion.
But that's tough. He's having a good month.
He's competent. He's okay.
I feel you on the preaching patience, because I mean, we take a look at somebody else who wore number 18. You look at his rookie season, and he had 4 games of 300+ yards. He had a bunch of multi touchdown games, but he also led the league in INTs and led the league in passing attempts.
Yeah, but I keep saying this.
Much different quarterback.
Ain't nobody else did that. Like the conversation that we having right now about Caleb is not the conversation they were having about Peyton Manning. Conversation they were having about Peyton Manning is we chose wrong. And then they went out and got Jeff Saturday, built him a line and told him, hey, you throw this football in 2 minutes. And it was like, yeah, appreciate that, Jeff. Also, make sure you block. Or 2 seconds, I should say. Also, make sure you block.
Well, hold on, Pat. A lot of people thought first couple of weeks, Caleb looks bad. Oh, we chose wrong because Jayden was out there cooking. So that was the conversation.
No. I'm saying they finished the season talking about that with Peyton Manning.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, the season
was like, he's a bad quarterback. And then they was like, hey, man, just let us block real quick and then see what you can do.
Yeah.
And this is why I want to have this conversation, right? Because this is the thing. Well, Pat, we can't play the Panthers and jet-lagged Jags every single week. Well, that's very true, but Jayden Daniels can't play the New York Giants every single week. He got an opportunity to play the Dallas Cowboys. That didn't go well. No fault of his own on that. You know what I mean? Although, when
you throw 2 picks, it's kind of a fault of your own.
Yeah, but he definitely tied you the game, gave you a chance to go in overtime. You know what I mean? He can't play the Carolina Panthers every single week. He can't play the Cleveland Browns every single week. He can't play the Cincinnati Bengals every single week. In fact, he got to play the Giants twice.
Where the heck is the Bengals going? Jesus, that's a whole different conversation.
No defense. And it's just bad out there. That situation may go nuclear. I'm not going to lie to you. But it's just like we can have that conversation about all these teams. But you know who he can play twice a week, who he's looked good, or twice a year, who he's looked good against? Top 5 defense in the Green Bay Packers.
Facts.
Mhm.
You know, he can play 2 times a year that he looked good against. Top
Best
5
game.
defense, maybe top 10 for the Green Bay Packers. I think they 6th or 7th now.
Yeah.
But a top 10 defense
Minnesota.
or top 5 defense in the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, Minnesota's up there.
Well, that
You know what I
defense
mean?
is
He is going to play against the toughest division in football. He doesn't get the opportunity to go up against the NFC East to try and win the division. Again, I'm not saying Jayden Daniels is a bad quarterback. What I'm saying is if the situations are reversed, I don't think the conversations are the same.
I respect that.
I just don't. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you Caleb Williams is generational? I think he's making some generational plays.
Can we clarify what generational means?
You haven't seen it in a long time.
But everybody's definition of
means.
that is different. Yeah, I respect it. Like, you won't see it in a long time. But we live in a league where, you know, everyone's trying to emulate Patrick Mahomes, who's the real generational talent, but he's generational because he's won so much.
Yeah, but I think the conversation is on generational is usually
like, let's be for real. Josh Allen is generational.
No, but not really. Josh Allen turned into this dude. Josh Allen first 2 years was some of the worst football I've ever seen in my life. It was for real. But to me, I think this is the thing for generational, right? You're having a conversation on when the situation is at its worst, you can overcome. Are we seeing that?
If that's the definition you've given, then Josh Allen fits the definition.
No, Josh Allen had a solid situation. Josh Allen was trash. He was the reason they was losing games. Josh Allen was trash his first 2 years, dog. He was horrible.
But let's be for real. Patrick Mahomes is generational, inheriting a team that was already in the playoffs.
Patrick Mahomes wasn't supposed to be that. He turned into somebody generational that second year. Nobody thought he was going to be that except Andy Reid. And
Alex Smith got
and nobody labeled Pat Mahomes generational.
That's true. I give you that.
Nobody labeled Pat Mahomes generational. Now people are comparing what generational looks like to Pat Mahomes.
Right.
So who is truly generational?
I would say Justin Herbert, as much as I dislike him for not being able to close out games in the fourth quarter. I would say he probably is the guy you look at as generational because rookie year, I mean, you came in and you're like, here's a team for you.
So is CJ Stroud generational?
I think
rookie year.
You can have the conversation on him his rookie year, but again, these are guys who weren't. Justin Herbert was labeled that. You know what I mean? CJ Stroud wasn't labeled that. Most thought CJ Stroud was going to be a bad quarterback.
I like that.
Which I didn't get that. I was sitting there, I was like, you taking Bryce over him?
Yeah.
I struggle with the notion of what generational means, because to me, a generational quarterback is someone who, without refinement, is able to compete at a level that others struggle with out the gate. Because it's such a team sport that, hey, he don't play defense. This quarterback is not going to stop the other team. Let's be for real. Like, you can have a generational talent at QB and not win games. So it's not based off wins. It can't be. So it has to be off of the talent and what he puts on the field. And it's like, I mean, let's be for real. Year one, how many QBs look or have the ability to do some of the things we've seen Caleb do? Not many. That's what makes them generational. I
think for me, like, I don't disagree with you, but I think that it's just when you throw a generational tag on somebody, it's basically they're going to overcome a dog water situation and still look like a good quarterback.
I also think it's a matter of consistency.
No, again, right? I'm not saying you can't say that about Caleb, but for me, I don't think that it all plays out in the play week in and week out. You know what I mean? I think people attribute the generational part to every single game. He's the best dude. Well, it's still 53 dudes. I still got to go up against generational dudes on the defensive side. I still got to go up against, I still got to go up against some of the best defensive players in the league and figure it out. I got to go up against Brian Flores, who's the king of zero blitz, right? Like I have to go up against all of these things and overcome those things. Oh, by the way, I got to overcome it in my own organization too.
Would RG3 be considered generational?
No.
RG3
RG3 was cooking, dog.
Was a generational
nice,
player.
He wasn't. Because at that point,
RG3 couldn't stay healthy.
Am I tripping, or was Lamar in the league by then?
No,
Lamar sat his
you
first year. He
super
didn't come in 2017.
you
Yeah.
super
Okay. I
tripping,
thought
bro.
I was. Okay. Then I take that back because I'm like, okay, if you compare that type of running back, that type of quarterback, then okay, but never mind.
No,
But
yeah,
he probably was.
RG3 overcame
His
a bad organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they were a bad organization, very similar to what Caleb is dealing with now. That's the one thing I give, like, not again, it's not pushback, but it's like everything changed with the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
Like they changed ownership, they changed philosophy, they changed how they did business, they changed the stadium, they changed everything, or they're changing the stadium. Yeah, they changed all of these things that make it a better situation for Jayden Daniels than what Caleb Williams is in. We still got the same situation. I mean, and that's the part that does excite me. That's why I do look at what Caleb Williams is doing. Maybe I see it a little bit more and maybe I see it a little bit more. Maybe I'm more excited about it because Caleb Williams is overcoming what we put Justin Fields through in 3 years in a single season.
Mm-hmm.
I am excited about it.
They took
For sure.
I don't have a hold on.
You don't have the tablet?
No, they was like, all right, let's pour in some shut up. Let's pour in a little multiple offensive coordinators. Let's pour in a terrible O-line. Let's pour in center getting thrown in your lap. Let's take the same left tackle. Let's throw that in the cup. Let's throw bad decision making from your head coach. It's going to cost you a playoff spot. And shake it up. There you go, Caleb. That's 3 years of Justin Fields in one cup.
Drink it in, man.
You know what I mean?
I like what Nate's comment on that.
You said what?
I like Nate's comment on that. Caleb would have 3 game-winning drives.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the whole point of him being
we
a
have
generational
3 game-winning drives and 3
4
W's based off of 4. Like the conversation is, this is a generational talent. Look at what he did, these game-winning drives, and we got the W. And that will put us. You do the math on what that would put us on the record, but like, let's be for real.
7-3.
And I'll say this. Say this. You know what? We tweaked on who the generational talent was. Joe Burrow. I'll say this.
Yeah.
Generational talents change your organization.
Yeah. They built the whole stadium off that man. Whole practice facility.
Joe Burrow changed how the Bengals had to do business. He changed how like Joe Burrow showed up and they were like, we think you're the guy. And then they saw it his rookie year that he was the guy and they were like, oh, snap. Like, hey, everybody, all of y'all that was here, get out. Like Joe Burrow overcame and changed how the organization did business. Peyton Manning with the Colts changed how the organization had to do business. Yes. Different sport. I love the comment from who said it was Timothy Ligon. He said LeBron with the Cleveland trash organization. He overcame it 100%.
Mm-hmm.
We went through years. We forgot Cleveland was in the NBA
because as soon as he left, they were horrible.
Yeah, they went back to the par.
I genuinely think, though, generational has a lot to do with a quarterback you don't get every other 10 to 15 years, right? Like, that's generational. Like, once in a generation, you get a LeBron. Once in a generation, you get a Kobe or a Jordan type of referring to basketball. So, like, once in a generation, there's a Joe Burrow. Once in a generation, and so that's what, and that's why I don't know if Caleb is necessarily a once in a generation player, because we got that in Pat Mahomes, 6-7 years ago. So I don't know if he's generational.
Well, that's the thing too. I think you got to change because the talent is just different, dog. Quarterback talent's everywhere. Mm-hmm. Organizations aren't as talented, but let's be real. Kyler Murray can play football.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray does some amazing things with a football.
He does some special things.
He don't have a team like Pat Mahomes got. But he does some special things with a football. Jordan Love is a special player that got a chance to step into an organization that already had their stuff figured out. So he just showed up and he was like, all right, I got to figure out this real NFL thing for a second. Give me a minute. Let me figure this out. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, status quo. Let's keep winning games.
How much does winning impact that? How much does winning ultimately decide whether or not you were generational?
Well, I think that actually is a good point.
It's the whole conversation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the reason why
you gotta win.
You could say that Tom Brady was generational based on his records.
Tom Brady was generational. Tom Brady was the last pick in the draft and legitimately was not the quarterback that he was by the end of his career.
But I mean, if you're looking at the chat, Timothy,
that's a special kind of dude. And see, I think that's where the difference is, right? There are dudes who
fly under the radar.
Maybe generational is the wrong word of it, right? Because I think that does mean this is a once in a generation thing. If that's the case, right? The Pat Mahomes, the Tom Brady's are the guys that do that. The conversation for me though is the dudes that can overcome everything. Right? Tom Brady overcame
Bill. That's it.
No, I'm not gonna say
Bill.
I'm gonna say
he didn't overcome a lot, dog.
No,
I'm sorry.
Tom Brady overcame his own limitations. You know what I mean? Like the Tom Brady that we saw by the time he was winning his third championship wasn't the dude that we saw winning the first championship. Tom Brady turned into a dude that you can give me any wide receiver you want, and I'll make him a dude.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like he wasn't that guy coming out.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Punky slot receivers.
He wasn't that guy coming out of Michigan. He wasn't that guy his first year in the league.
He'll grab a 5'9" white wide receiver and make him good.
Let's be clear. Tom didn't grab that. Bill did. And on top of that, the scheme was what they ran to. Tom has even said it himself. Very mediocre quarterback, first two championships. But he was a great game manager. And that's all he preaches. If you just control the basics and you do it consistently, you're going to win games. Everybody does their job. That's what the Patriots were built off of. So system-wise, he inherited the Jared Goff's equivalent of what was it, the Rams?
Yeah.
He inherited the Rams and just did a better job at being a game manager and then eventually blossomed into who he is. Now, I'm not saying he didn't develop into that, but it's like he didn't have to overcome a lot. It ain't like he had a trash organization. The Patriots were trash.
Is the question then, are we talking about generational success versus generational talent then?
I think he had a generational career, but I don't know if he was a generational talent for most of that. Let's be for real. Like Peyton Manning was a much better quarterback than Tom Brady.
No.
Many people would argue that.
No.
I would argue it.
Peyton Manning had two amazing wide receivers on his team.
I'll give you an example of why I think Tom Brady's
Peyton
better.
Manning had dogs on his team.
When Tom Brady was old and he still won the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, was it because of Tom Brady or was it because of somebody else? It was because of Tom Brady.
In Tampa Bay?
When Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl in Denver, was it because of that Broncos defense?
Yeah, no, they was dragging that man along. He was dead.
They said, come on, let's just
I will say this. By the end of it, Peyton definitely, especially after the injury, looked different. But Peyton also broke records his first season. Was it first or second season in Denver?
He broke records his first season. They were dog water in the
I think he threw for 5,000 yards, much like Tom did in his last season. Well, Tom didn't throw for 5,000.
No, he threw 55 touchdowns that season. I want to say he broke
that up.
The passing touchdown record.
Was cooking.
No, he was. No, but also Peyton Manning yet again had weapons on that team. Peyton Manning had an offensive line on that team. He was much better. And then, that last year.
That last year was trash. That last year he was absolutely trash.
The man was a duck. You know what I mean?
2,200 yards.
2015, 9 touchdowns, 17 interceptions.
Yeah,
dude,
trash.
2013, he had 55 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Hey, dog, that man was like created player. Like it's crazy.
Hey, listen, he played 4 years there.
That's crazy.
Only got the Super Bowl in the 1 year, right? He got the Super Bowl in what year did he get the ring? 15, right? 2015 they won it, and then he retired.
He retired on top.
He got 37-11, 55-10, 39-15. Last season, 9-17 Super Bowl.
You got progressively worse.
That's a huge drop
corrected on that one.
But I just think that the conversation, and I love the conversation on what's generational and what isn't, because like to me, like you mentioned Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's generational. Why? He had all the talent in the world, but he had to overcome an organization that was dog water. LeBron James, generational, had to overcome an organization that was dog water. Kobe Bryant got to go to the Lakers.
Wemby,
an amazing talent, but you knew the Lakers were always going to invest in that team.
Keep it.
It
in
was
football.
always going to
Mike
be,
Vick
hey, you
generational.
going to get somebody else we spending money on.
Is Mike Vick generational?
Mike Vick
From a wins perspective, from a production perspective, is he generational?
He changed the game in a certain aspect, but I wouldn't say he's generational.
I don't even know if he changed the game because it's 2024 and we still talk about how running quarterbacks can't win.
I don't mean as far as winning a Super Bowl. I mean just the way some people look at.
I mean, listen, I'm just saying, like, I think Mike Vick is the first guy to make it
cool to run.
No, to make it okay for teams to look at players like we get now, like a Justin Fields, like a CJ Stroud, like a Jayden Daniels, right? Guys who were willing to run in college, right? Caleb Williams, right? Guys who were willing to use their legs in college. I think it speaks more to that conversation than it does to him being generation. He was a great quarterback, but like I can't even say Mike Vick's a Hall of Famer.
I can't say he's a Hall of Famer.
I can't say Mike Vick's a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Hey, his stats before he went to jail.
Is Vick a Hall of Famer? Like, let's be real. Is Vick a Hall of Famer?
I mean, if we're being honest about some of the people that are in there from years ago.
NFL Hall is different. The NFL Hall is not the NBA Hall.
If I'm not mistaken, he said he's not a Hall of Famer, right?
The okay dudes don't get in. The dudes that is on the cusp don't get in. It's some really good players not in the Hall of Fame. Chad Ochocinco not a Hall of Famer. He was a great wide receiver.
That is crazy.
That's crazy.
Not really.
Stop.
Not really. What numbers he got that make him a Hall of Famer?
10,000 plus receiving yards. How many touchdowns he got?
Let me ask you this.
Does he have 10,000 plus receiving yards? I think he does.
Is Brandon Marshall a Hall of Famer?
No.
I see where you're going with this.
He got a lot of them same accomplishments.
I see where you're going with this.
You know what I mean? Like but that's why I like the Football Hall of Fame, because it's a real Hall of Fame. NBA just letting dudes in. They just like, did somebody smile at you on a basketball court? Get in there.
11,000 yards. 11,000 career yards.
Brandon Marshall got 11,000 yards?
No, I'm talking about Chad.
Brandon Marshall got 12,000 yards.
Brandon Marshall got 12,000 yards. How many touchdowns?
83 touchdowns. He got 16.
Chad Johnson got 67.
Yeah, Brandon's not in there. Chad can't be in there.
Chad ain't in. Chad's great. He's a phenomenal player. He's not a Hall of Famer. That's why I like that. So it's like, I don't know if I can have a conversation like getting back to the original point, right? With Mike Vick, I don't know if I can have a conversation on generational if I can't even say you gonna make the Hall of Fame, right? Because generational is like, not only are you in the hall, you at the top of the hall.
Yeah,
great player. Changed how people look at player, but I can't put him in there. So I think just to put a ball in the conversation, we didn't get to the doggone breakdown. Don't nobody want to break this game down. It's about to get ugly.
Turkey Day.
Ye with little faith, Pat. We're gonna win this game.
We'll break it down tomorrow.
We're gonna win this game.
There's your breakdown.
I like it.
We lose by
I think that,
it'll be competitive.
Oh, that mess was so funny.
I think that you look at generational different based on how the career goes and what guys have to overcome. Like, I wouldn't call Kobe a generational player. I think he's a great player.
I don't know about that.
All right.
Listen, to me, he's the time. He's more like Tom Brady.
Bang!
I think
I don't know about that one. Hold on, dog. This man tweaking, dog.
I love the confidence.
Hey, Pat, you don't make a lot of bad takes, but
you ain't gonna disrespect D like that.
Can I say?
I know
why?
he's gonna have a point. I know Pat's gonna have a point.
Can I say why?
How many get 2 jerseys retired? You know what I mean?
Listen, he's a phenomenal. He's the 3rd best player of all time. And he's not generational.
So it's only 2 generational talents.
Yeah,
I love it. Okay, here we go.
Here's why I say it though. Let me finish it through. Let me finish it through and see if I can get back to the point.
Hey, you probably got a good point, but you just effed it
Wait,
up.
wait. It ain't a yellow
See if
flag.
I can get back to the point.
Use one of these Clorox wipes. I'm gonna use one of these Clorox wipes to throw at
Kobe
you.
Bryant didn't have to overcome his organization holding him back.
Do you not remember the 2004 Lakers?
Oh, they were bad.
Do you not remember the 2005, 2006 Lakers?
No. I'm not telling you
Kwame
that.
Brown and Smush Parker on the same team starting.
Yes, kid. I'm not telling you that there weren't bad years. Tom Brady had 10 years where he didn't win a Super Bowl.
He was in the playoffs in every year.
How we dig into basketball talk.
He was in the playoffs every year.
My point is the Lakers were already a top tier organization. You've never talked about the Lakers as a bad organization.
Yes, we have.
As an organization,
we've talked about them. They've had moments where they were.
They've had down
before
years.
they grabbed.
They've had down years
before they grabbed that.
We've never said they were a bad organization. The Chicago Bears are a bad organization.
That is true. That is true. That part is true.
We've never said that. You went literally, what was it, 5 years? You went from Magic to Kobe.
You went from Magic to Shaq to Kobe.
You went from Magic to Shaq to Kobe.
But you were down. Listen, even Shaq didn't win his first couple of seasons.
They
were a bad organization.
But my thing is, for me, in my mind, right, the generational type of players, I did get back to the point, have to overcome and have to change the organizations that they're in. The Patriots weren't, and this is the thing, the Patriots weren't good before Tom. They were playoff teams and stuff like that that popped up in there, but they weren't a good organization. There were, 30 years?
No, I don't know about that one, dog. I get what you're saying, and they
I
weren't
the
known to
organization
be a
part,
good organization. But at a certain point, the tide does turn. He inherited the turn of that.
Kobe's definitely generational.
No, he absolutely inherited the turn. It was a better organization by the time Tom got there. But
I agree with you on that.
It was years of it being bad, and you don't start hoisting banners until Tom gets there. You were hoisting. Kobe had banners that was before him. There are no banners before Michael Jordan or after.
I get you, but that don't mean that they weren't bad at points and he didn't have to overcome it, because he definitely had to overcome it.
And that don't mean that he wasn't.
Brown was a starting center.
No. But see, you're talking bad teams. I'm talking a bad organization.
Yeah, but even like the Spurs, right? They inherited Victor Wembanyama. So at the end of the day, and he's probably the most generational since LeBron.
Listen, that's a whole different conversation. They low-key became a bad organization. I ain't gonna lie to you. They inherited Victor Wembanyama and ain't did a dang thing. And I'm gonna tell you this: in basketball, talent mean a lot.
Talent means a lot when you play both sides of the ball.
Talent mean a lot, bro.
Yeah, that is true.
You ain't doing nothing with this kid.
Nothing.
It's a shame.
Like talent mean
they weren't even passing him the ball last year, really.
Bro, I ain't never seen that in my life. How you pass up the 7'8" guy? Hey, dog,
easy assist.
Put it up there. He's right under the rim. He's like as tall as the rim.
One more time.
In my opinion, my personal opinion, the most fun stat to have is assists, and that's like easy. You just toss it
brought in CP3.
That's Styles every day, baby. That's 30 assists. Let him eat. I got to get paid off of that.
I ain't gonna lie to you. What Chris Paul numbers is? This mother might be cheeks too.
That's what I was saying. You brought in CP3 to do just that.
What that boy doing? That boy 10. He ain't averaging 10 assists. Trash.
Yeah, I don't know how he's not. How many minutes a game is he getting?
I don't know. He old. He might not be playing that many. No, he playing 30 minutes a game.
Playing
28. He playing more minutes per game this year than he was last year. 28 minutes.
8.5 assists. I mean, for a guy his age, 8.5 ain't bad.
He cooking for his age. I ain't gonna lie.
Actually, you do gotta get into the numbers. Literally, the games where he's playing less minutes is the games where he don't have the assists. It's bringing the numbers down. He played 30 minutes 11, 29 minutes 11, 29 minutes 11, 31 minutes 11, 30 minutes 10.
Hey,
he's doing his job.
But now, yeah,
hey, he older than me.
I love that conversation. That was
real quick, dog. What's the preview?
What's the preview?
Yeah. Just round robin. What's your win or loss?
Loss.
The Bears lose by 7.
Bears win by 10.
Bears win by a field goal that doesn't get blocked. Clearly,
You funny.
Bears lose by 16 and Detroit covers.
Bang!
I don't like your attitude.
Oh snap!
Nah, actually,
Hey,
I
man,
did
you
say.
gotta be positive, bro.
I said it was going to be a close game. Let me stop. Bears lose by 10. Bears lose by 10.
Yeah, I think the
Bears
Bears.
It's gonna be a
by
close
10.
game. Went from 16 to 10.
Day.
Detroit is the number one team in the league, bro.
Listen, I say this: 10 is going to be like 28-18. But that's a step in the right direction because they averaging like 30 plus on people.
Insane, bro.
Yeah, they're first in the league. 32.
Hey,
Hey,
they
if
put
we do
Detroit on
lose-
the map, baby. They put Detroit
Hey, what
on
I'm
the map.
hoping happen though, what I'm hoping happen
We get
is
blown
a
out by so much.
54-34 loss.
That means Caleb put up the
And
numbers.
Caleb Williams is doing his thing all
that's the
day, and then
go for it
eventually
again.
it's just like, all right, we can't stop. I don't know.
That's crazy. You lose by 20 points and you score 35. That's crazy.
Hey, that is best of both
That's the
worlds.
perfect scenario. Offense balls out, defense
Yeah.
is trash, Flus gets fired.
Oh
They
yeah,
just-
on a long bye week, absolutely.
Oh yeah, 10 days off.
A mini bye
Yeah,
week?
get him
Yeah,
out of
get him
here.
out of here.
Get him out of here. Where's he going? Where's he keep walking to? This
C-Dub is contemplating this scheme.
I'm contemplating like how that can work out. Like, yeah, that makes sense to
Hey,
me.
what-
what's the bigger scenario that Flus gets fired? Is it that the Bears get blown out, or the Bears? The scenario I said the other day, the Bears are up 27-21, and then they go down and they score a touchdown to win the game on a one-score game.
I would rather that.
That's
I actually would
22.
rather the latter.
Hey,
We're-
three
we're not
gonna win?
one-score losses in a row versus the division.
No, what are the percentages again? We have a 98.9% chance of winning the game. It's like 20 seconds left, and then
They just
Detroit
turn-
goes off. And yeah,
They just turn around and hand it
Give me
off to Jahmyr Gibbs, and he runs a 98-yard
Flus out of here.
touchdown because
give
our
me that.
gap control is
Give me
terrible.
that.
Anything
Yeah, what
that
Crimson
shows that the
said, bye,
defense is not
Felicia.
prepared.
Bye,
Bye,
Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye,
Felicia.
Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. It's crazy.
I better hope we
Show's going
lose
off
because
the rails,
if
man.
we win out these last these last games,
I know what you're
that
saying.
man's staying in
Don't you wish
Chicago.
that evil on me, Ricky Bobby? Don't you
Hey,
do
That
it?
man is
It's
staying
my
in
flag,
Chicago, dog. I'm sorry. If we win out, that man's staying in Chicago. So I'm hoping if we lose,
Real
we
kiss.
lose
Stop
disaster.
signing up for mediocrity.
Real Chris
No.
Canty.
Mid defender.
Hey, I don't want the guy here. I'm just letting you know.
If we win out from here on out,
Man,
what, we
that'd
nine-
be tough.
what are we? We're 4-7, 4-8.
So we'll be 10 and
We're
7.
10-7. That would be 10.
Which is what I hope for.
No, we'd be
Honestly,
9
I
and 8.
hope to win 10 games in the season. That's the
What
funny
we,
part.
we're
9
4 and
and
8.
Are we 4-7 or 4-8?
You're right. No, you're right.
We're 4 and 7.
Are we 4-7 right now?
We're 4 and
Yep.
7.
So
We
we
can't
be
do
10
that.
and 7.
Clearly,
We got to win
We
6
be,
straight
we
games.
win out. We be 10-7. That man's
Yeah.
staying in Chicago. We
we're
go
4-7. If we win out, we'd be 10-7.
We'll be in the wild card. That's what's funny. We will
That
be in
man
the
is
wild
that man
card.
to be in
Oh
Chicago.
no, where's the graphic at?
Hey, his saving grace would be I fired Shane.
Hey, Pat.
We made Thomas the coordinator.
Hey, Pat, George's nightmares will come true. Flus makes it to the playoffs. He takes us to the Super Bowl. We lose, and George still wants to fired. Ain't nobody fired him, man.
Bro, I will have a panic attack.
You know why? I don't think that would happen though. I don't know if y'all have watched Flus at the podium lately or not, but like, bro,
Yes.
bro, he's so
weird.
different.
He looks
He's
defeated.
so different. He looked like Ryan Pace told him after the Packers lost, like, you know, I'm for the fire your ass, right? I'm gonna give you 2 weeks to get your affairs in order. Like, that's how he looked, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So I don't want to fire you before Christmas.
I don't want to fire you. No, he's still gonna fire before Christmas. Like, I'm gonna let you have Thanksgiving with your family.
I'm gonna let you right.
And you get out of
Eat
my
up.
building.
Enjoy your meal.
Like that's how he's talking to me. He's talking like he knows he's gone. I do wonder if he is or not, but man, the conversation is tough. That's a tough Kobe take, the Kobe Nut generation. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I just want you to understand that.
He had to rethink about that.
Understand that, dog.
No, I knew where I was going, and by my definition of it, Kobe wouldn't fit into it. But then when I was like, he's the third best player ever, it was like, how that work, Pat?
Player
ever, not generational.
I mean, Shaq might be barely making the top 10. He's a generational talent.
Doing right.
Barely making the top 10.
Barely making the top 10, Shaq.
You mean
How
of
you
all
got-
time?
of all time players.
That's
You
a whole
can't be
different
the most
conversation. We ain't going down
dominant
that
player
road
to
right
have
now.
ever played
Hey
and
man, I
not-
appreciate
Can't wait
y'all.
to have that convo.
Hey, we'll be here all night, dog, about that. We breaking down top 10s out here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. For Mr. Media himself, Jordan JC, Pettiest Man Alive, Speak Kid, and of course, Superman C Dub. Go be Superman.
All
Your
right.
boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bed down. One love.
Kobe's not generational, you all.
Hey, you know what?
Hey,
I've never let them live that down, dog.
You know what's up? You know what's
Hey, you don't
That's
make a lot of bad takes, but that was one.
No, that was a
That
bad
was
take. That was a bad take. But it
That
was me following my definition and then just being like, yeah, maybe there's an exception to the rule.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, Cal.
Hey, at least I ain't sit there and fight the take. Yeah, I mean, by the end of it, I just accepted it. Kid just hold on to
Kid would have fought that take
Oh,
to
no,
the
Kid
death.
is the defender of everything mid.
Kid,
Oh
hey,
yeah,
kid
I'm
just
gonna defend it. I'm gonna defend
Hey.
myself until I realize I ain't got nowhere to go.
hey, listen, kid just
No,
admitted that Mitch
He'll
Trubisky
be
can't play
defending.
football.
Hey, we ruined Mitch. I ain't trying to hear that.
The kid